When he abandoned milk production at Mahorral Farm after the introduction of milk quotas, Peter King Turner was left with several redundant buildings which remain undisturbed for days on end. But nature abhors a vacuum. Peter, at Mahorral you've got some ideal buildings. You must have some bats in here. Have you had any experiences with bats?
We have got some bats, yes. We have bats roosting in the attic in the house. We don't know how many are there, but we keep a window open so that they can go in and out at will. And of course sometimes they happen to come down the stairs and into the bedroom.
Peter's not the only person we've got in this gathering darkness. The other person is John Robinson. He was a warden for English nature for many years. He's an accredited bat specialist. Why, John, are bats so fiercely protected?
It's basically habitat loss.
How many species of bats are there?
16, roughly 16. But it seems like with this modern technology that with all this business about echolocation and things like that, there could even be more found. And things, one or two species are starting to move over from the continent across
as
the
it gets
channel,
warmer.
as it gets warmer. So you get a couple of species like grey long-eared that occur right down in the south.
They can live for quite a long time.
Yeah, up to 25 years from what I believe, yeah.
And they have one child per year.
Very often one or none, yeah.
A live birth, is it?
Yes, and that's why there's also this problem with population numbers. Because if anything goes wrong, it's not like a kingfisher which can sort of lay 3 broods of eggs a year. Bats might take 2 years to rear one young.
Now you've got a new device which you're going to use tonight to try and detect whether we've got any bats and which bats they are. Can you describe it?
Yeah, it's just like a little black box. It's called a bat detector, and it's got 2 functions really. What you do is it's like a radio receiver. All bats use echolocation, which is a high frequency call which then tells them where things are. So this is like a radio, and you tune it in from a frequency from about 20 to 100 and about 120. Now this machine lowers the frequency by 10, sorry.
So that we can
hear it.
Right.
You wouldn't normally hear it. So you then record that, you take it home and put it on a computer, and you sit there for 4 or 5 hours, and you get all these lovely pretty sonograms, and you should be able to tell roughly what family it is for a start, and then possibly what species.
They're all unique then?
Yes, they're all unique, yeah.
Wow.
But it's still a developing art, let's put it like that.
If I look over your shoulder as you're talking, I've seen a bat come out once or twice.
Right.
Let's go and switch on your device.
Shall I switch it on?
Yeah.
And there you are.
I saw it as well.
Oh, there they are. There were 2 together there. Yeah. I would say that's a common pipistrelle because it's echolocating at a peak frequency of about 47 kilohertz.
There it is. I saw it against the sky.
Yeah.
Came within about 12 feet of us.
And they very often do hunt inside the buildings as well.
We're standing opposite an old Dutch barn. Corrugated iron Dutch barn.
There's quite a few bats there actually. There must be a lot of insects trapped inside that's good for the heat going up, yeah.
Now we're right inside.
Wonderful.
Is there any way you can tell how many bats there might be in here?
No, not till you look at it on the computer, and you might be able to work out, but the actual screen on the computer will be so cluttered with calls it'll be almost impossible. I'll print you some out anyway.
Yeah,
I can send. Yeah,
thank you. It's fascinating. Isn't it?
Well, there's certainly a lot of bats around.
Well, John, what we've got to do now is to go back to your house and put it on the computer.
What you do is you have a big printout of all the different sonograms. It's like DNA. And you've got all these pretty lines on a graph, and you have to try and match things up. It's not that easy. In fact, it's not easy at all, but I'm getting there.
Well, John, you've come home with your recording from the other night. What have you done with it since?
The first thing that you do is you record onto this program on the computer.
And we'll see it displayed.
And we'll see it displayed as we go along. It'll also play out as it's recording, which it's doing now. If you go to that speaker up there, you'll hear the... Now you can notice straight away that there's something very different about that one, which we'll look at later. I then go into this special program, which is designed specifically for this purpose, for helping you to identify these various bat calls. And I open it, and there we are. You see the interesting bits are these dark coloured lines below it, and on the left axis we have the frequency, which in this case ranges from 0 to 20 kilohertz, and the bottom axis is the time. We can then pick a section out. You've got these lovely lines of yellow with a very dark red bit in the middle. If I go up to this spectrogram here, click on that, pick the highest peak, it tells me at the bottom that that's at 48 kilohertz.
So it's within the pipistrelle range.
Yes, and this is the common pipistrelle because its peak frequency is usually about 45 to 50. You go onto this reference chart, you get to this end and you can see something very, very different. You've got the one we've just been playing, the pipistrelle, which is a... And then we've got this one, which looks very different, and in fact is. You can see that the peak frequency and the volume is way down to the bottom, 21. But it's the fact that it's down in that range that tells me it's one of the noctule group. This is about the largest one we've got in this country. I can put that down as almost certainly a noctule bat.
What was that sound?
That's what's called a feeding buzz. When you get to the end of a series of calls, they very often speed up.
So what's it doing when it makes that noise?
That's when it's finally homed in on its prey, and as it gets nearer to the insect or the moth, these echolocation calls, but they get tighter and tighter until it ends in like a climax of when it's finally caught the
so it's the last few milliseconds of a moth.
That's right. Now we've only looked at the hunting calls. There are all sorts of other calls as well, which are known as social calls, which they use to communicate with each other. So
do they leave cards?
You're not taking this seriously, are you? Bat cards. It's all very very weird and wonderful anyway.